Welcome to the podcast Stories of Wholeness. You'll find stories from people who have chosen to look deeper within themselves. They have been brave enough to start revealing their inner wholeness and cultivating natural inner resources. This way, they are able to share their true gifts with the entire world.
Hello, my name is Ilze, and I'm the host of this podcast, Stories of Wholeness. Today I'm having a conversation with Bert. Bert lives in a community of 40 people in the Netherlands. He's 40 and he works in an art school where he teaches young adults in creative writing. Boredom, suffering, and curiosity has brought him into exploring his inner resources deeper than ever. In this conversation, Bert sometimes shares rather abstractly, and at the same time, he shares his very personal experiences of doing seemingly ridiculous stuff and the bravery it takes to do so. We are also touching on addictive substances and what might be found behind the urge to use those. There is some uncensored language found in this podcast. Personally, I see it as an authentic part of Bert's story. In case you are not willing to hear some stronger words, I suggest you not to listen. Just switch off and go enjoy your life. So, welcome, Bert, in the podcast that is called Stories of Wholeness. I'm really glad to meet you and to have a conversation with you. So, my first intro question for today is, who are you today?
Today I'm happy that it's still my vacation time. I'm procrastinating my work a little. And last week I've been outside a lot, and it's like I can see it over your place. It's really sunny at the moment, or it looks like, and here it's like raining nonstop. So I am at the moment somebody who's getting wet a lot.
Wow, that's a good start for 2022.
Yeah. It's right in the middle of things.
Okay. And now, so we're talking about wholeness and how we can find ourselves in wholeness. What is wholeness to you?
Well, I was listening to a YouTube video or something of Alan Watts, and what I really liked, he told a story about a lot of people identify themselves with their ego, right? The image of themselves, like the I, and I have to be this and I have to be that. And he said, but that's a weird way of looking at things, because like my name is Bert van Beek, but the name, of course, is a concept, and it leaves out a lot of the stuff that I am as well. Like it has nothing to do with my unconscious physical processes or my thoughts or my whatever. Like it's just the name some people gave me and the name I have because of some societal structure, like my last name. And he said like that ego is comprised of two parts. On one hand, the trust in like the semantic system of language, like I am my name, I am Bert van Beek, and on the other hand, coupled to a physical sensation of tension, actually. So he says the tension is the physical material that the illusion builds upon. And to me, wholeness at the moment is seeing through those two illusions in a way, and more identifying with just stuff that is happening within and outside myself. Because in the ego or your name, like your conceptual self, doesn't really have relations to the world outside. Like, and then it becomes all about, I don't know, my job, my pleasure, blah, blah, blah. Instead of everything that's happening around you and in your field of vision, and like stuff like the sunset. And but that's also part of who you are, because it's your sunset in a way. So wholeness to me at the moment is expanding the way I see myself to parts of me and nature that belong to this being in a way. maybe a bit abstract, but
That sounds a bit abstract. Maybe you can tell how did you find wholeness, or how did you come to this way to think about these things and to explore these things? What made you come to this point?
on one hand, I think boredom for a great part. Like in my childhood, just like hating school and stuff like that. And then when I started studying philosophy, it was also very quickly about basically getting an academic career and becoming somebody in the world. And becoming somebody in the world is about being successful and stuff like that. But I wasn't interested in that. Like I don't need other people to cheer for me or something. Like, yeah, you're doing well because you're a professor or you're whatever. And also the things that a lot of other people are very enthusiastic about. Like also, I work in an art school, and then creativity becomes about becoming an artist, like becoming this or that. And you can put that stamp in your identity. And for me, making art or doing creative work is just about being in the world in a way that I like. Partly because of being dissatisfied with what normal life or the small story or whatever, the middle world or the marketplace had to offer. And on the other hand, meditation is an important part that I connect to something bigger than myself. And last September, doing resource and becoming actually reconnected with more Western or Jungian approach that I consider Bill Plotkin to be a part of. So my practice mostly was very Easty, like Buddhist, and now I reconnect with more a Western tradition. And wholeness to me is also, it's a bit anti-globalist or something. Like in the way we are seduced to think about us conceptually. Like a lot of people, they live their life like to get the best CV, basically. Like a lot of people who travel because you have to travel. Or they screw around because you have to screw around or whatever. Like stuff like that. And of course, I fell into that trap as well, like thinking stuff like that is important. But wholeness to me is like, there is this quotation about we were born for these times, but I also believe like you're born for a place. Like wholeness is also like just the land that I live on, like the physical stuff around me. So I don't know. I think society at large promises that we can be anything we want. This part of life, I'm more interested in becoming that very specific thing that I was meant to be, or something, or that's my rightful place, or my niche, or whatever you want to call it. And just trying to find that. I think that's what the practice of wholeness or wholing for me is at the moment. I'm in the mist a lot. I'm thinking, okay, I'm totally on the wrong track and stuff like that. So that's part of it as well. Yeah, and not being too pissed off about that, and sometimes being pissed off about that and just accepting that as well.
You mentioned that finding your place or whatever. So where are you in your place? What is your place now?
At the moment, it's a part north of the city where I live in. It's an artificial island because, of course, like I'm from the Netherlands and we have a lot of water and we have to get rid of that some way. And years back, we had like almost like a flooding in our city. And then the municipal council or the province, I don't know who made that decision, but they decided to have like a new arm in the river. So there was a whole new island, basically. And they said, on this island, we're not really going to build. We're going to give it just to nature. But because nature in the Netherlands is so full that like real nature, like they have in a lot of other countries, we just don't have that. Like maybe in the Waddenzee, like there is one part of the Netherlands that is dry one part of the day and wet the other part. So there's maybe some real nature, but real like pristine nature, we don't have that in the Netherlands. And I really connect to those parts that are actually neither nature nor culture. So like forgotten places, like a bit more dirty places, or the place beneath power lines or under bridges, or because that's, on one hand, it's a design space, but it's the backside of the design space. It's the ugly place that you always get when you design something. And I kind of like that because it's also nature. It's also the first place where nature reappears after a new design place, in a way.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is very interesting, and for sure not very usual to hear from people, to feel the places somewhere in between. What does it tell to you about you?
I think I struggled with rejection in the past, and they are rejected places in a way, and celebrating that, like the beauty of that place, that's important to me. And I struggle with being hopeful sometimes, like for the future, like the rejection is in the past, and the hopelessness can be in the future, or the worry. But it's also like, because it's, as soon as you till the soil, like you burn down a forest and you try to make where you grow the crops. And I lost a field, just a field, yeah. Like as soon as you till the soil and you leave it alone, like nature starts reappearing again. Like the stupid tiny plants that nobody pays attention to. And like those plants I kind of like, because it's like the fuck you vegetation in a way, and I like that. Yeah, it's also about being hopeful and like the confidence in that, like life or nature will find a way, and don't worry too much, and things will go on as they need to go on.
That's beautiful, and for sure, I think we need more of people appreciating these places and little plants that don't matter, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is like the waste also has a place in that part. I'm always wondering, should I clean up the waste in places like that? But at the moment I'm like, no. That's part of the ecosystem as well. Like, just because it's my judgment that it's like not natural, so therefore it shouldn't be there. I'm like, yeah, but it is here, so leave it be. Yeah, so it's also like ugly by necessity or something. When it becomes too beautiful, it's not longer one of those places. It's just a forest or a meadow.
That's very cool to experience you seeing a world like that at this moment. Which resources you realized you lacked, you needed to cultivate to come to this place and to see these forgotten place beautiful in a way for you?
I would say in like map of wholeness type, like Westy resources, like my imagination, my love for mystery, also my interest in death and the undoing of things, like the ending of things and the transformation, and also maybe the fact that the super particular, like when I went to resource in Romania, like I struggled with the term like soul a lot, because I'm raised Christian, so soul is like a bit of a stupid term for me. Sorry, but I'm not very enthusiastic about.
I can relate to this.
The way, they that term says something about being human in that tradition, and then I turned to Buddhism I've been doing Vipassana for 10 years, and that's all about like anatta, like there is no soul, there is no unique, well maybe not unique, but there is no personal essence that makes you you, and it's just like the rising and falling of different conditions, actually, and paying mindfulness to that. But then you lose something as well, like by paying attention to like the big picture only, or the phenomenological picture only. I lost a connection to nature. So connection to nature, connection to my feminine side, to my anima, because yeah, it can be quite pessimistic. My anima is a really joyful creature. So it was really nice to reconnect to that as well, and very okay with being special. Yeah.
To be okay with being special.
Yeah.
That can be a challenge sometimes.
Yeah, it can, because being special means something super stupid in today's parlance or the language of today, because being special, people think about influencers or movie stars or whatever, but that's just people doing their job in public. That's something completely different from being special.
What is being special to you?
Maybe being in accordance or in harmony with your environment, the unique way you try to come closer to something you're meant to be or something. Like, it's not about having positive traits. It's not about being intelligent or being beautiful or being strong or whatever. It's
not about that. Sometimes giving the opposite of not that can come to.
Yeah, but I'm trying to change that as well.
Of what it might be.
Yeah, but I'm trying to change that as well, because I'm in a nice place at the moment. Like, I live in a nice community and I have a nice job and I'm not poor and I don't have to work a lot, so I can do, most of the time I can do what I want. And I came there by saying no to stuff, actually. Like, no, I don't want to buy a house, or no, I don't want to drive a car, or no, I don't want to have children, or no, blah, 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 all of that. And in this time of my life, I'm also like really interested in trying to see, like, what are you saying yes to? And at the moment, it's not the societal stuff, but more the, I don't know, the images my subconscious gives me. Like, I dreamt of a friend who's a poet, and I bought one of his books, and I'm reading that now. So yeah, live your dreams. Buy like the book that you dreamt of your friend wrote. Stuff like that. Like, yeah, whatever that part of me has to say or something.
And what did help you to get to this point again? What helped you to discover or uncover these Westy resources? Is that imagination, humor, maybe?
Like the at the moment, like the Animas programs practices, and like the practices that like in the books of Bill Plotkin I do a lot, like wanders and mandolas and stuff like that. So that's helpful at the moment. But also reading, like I practice like Stoic practices, and also meditating, but also talking with friends, and I don't know, also like becoming older. Like I just turned 40 like a couple of weeks ago. Like a while ago, I was like in nature in one of those places that I like, and I was really angry. Like, for the first part of the walk, I was just saying fuck you to everything. Like, everything I love, everything I like, everything I'm hopeful about. I was just like, and then I was like, okay, this is my pilgrimage of bullshit. So I was like, okay, fine, let this be my pilgrimage of bullshit. So I just took spots that I felt like, okay, and I just started bowing to the stuff, like physically, like in the muddy soil, like my trousers were totally like wrecked and ugly. But I was like, yeah, if this is what life has to offer me at this moment, yeah, then this is my pilgrimage of bullshit. So also sometimes just ridiculous stuff but I needed to go to grow older to be brave enough to do that stuff. Like, not think like somebody's gonna see me or something, because nature in the Netherlands is busy. Like we're with 17 million in a small country, so it's hard to be alone in the Netherlands. So you try to be, but then, yeah.
Then I have this question. What gave you this courage, or how did you gain this sense of bravery to start doing that, and maybe in busy places?
I don't know. I think I'm a donkey. Like I just have to suffer enough that I'm fed up enough with it that I just try to do new stuff. So I think like I choose the hard way, like suffering made it possible. Suffering, boredom, and also like newfound curiosity, and also encouragement from friends and loved ones. And also embracing your 15-year-old, like your inner 15-year-old, like the one that goes like to everything. Because there is like a lot of fun of it. Like I can be very rational in my marketplace life, in my everyday life, and it brought me a lot. Like the rational part of me sculpt this world for me in which I can live freely, like taking care of myself financially and stuff like that. But it also becomes, I don't know, like a rubber band that's going like too much, like too drawn out. And then sometimes you just have to do stupid shit to make the rubber band go and back to its relaxed state or something. And in the past, that used to be like alcohol and drugs, and now it's more walking and different kind of drugs.
What would you say to somebody hearing this and saying like, alcohol and drugs must be more interesting than walking in the nature? So what do you find appealing?
Really pay attention to how you feel afterwards. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and we were talking about like smoking and having a hangover. And like having a hangover is shit. Like if you pay attention to having a hangover, it's a really annoying feeling. But having a hangover and having smoked a lot the day before, it's like doubly worse. And just really paying attention to, is this worth it? Because actually like being drunk feels shit. It's really annoying being drunk, in my opinion. Like a small buzz, it's fine. But at the moment where you go like, choof, you're like, but you're taking both with alcohol and with a lot of other drugs, maybe not the more intelligent plant-based stuff, but also like nicotine and caffeine and sugar and stuff like that. They're all addictive substances. Like when I eat too much sugar, like I get sweaty around my nose and my eyes, they start to burn and my mouth feels dry. And it's just my body saying, don't do this. Just, if I had to give advice, it would be pay attention and listen to your body. Like, and also listen to people around you. Because by using drugs a lot, you become an asshole.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah. And like being an asshole sometimes is fine. But when you start losing friends and start like when it unravels your social being, and like the good people, not the bad people, then yeah, it's maybe not for the creature that you are, not the right game or something. Yeah, also maybe paying attention to the creature that you are, like just the animal, like the earthy thing.
As you started to talk about addictions to different substances, alcohol, drugs, and what do you see is what brings people to these moments, to this place where you get addictive and you hide in the substances?
I had a time in my early 20s when I drank too much, and it was when I started out writing, and I was just so self-critical. Like drinking was my way to shut the inner critic up. So basically it's one simple strategy trying to make the other simple strategy smaller. Like in Plotkin terms, you could say like it's the addict trying to like strangle the inner critic or the loyal soldier, or so yeah, I would say trusting too much in old strategies or something. Like there is stuff you don't want to feel, there is stuff you don't want to deal with, there is stuff you don't want to see or acknowledge. And instead of seeing it and acknowledging it because it's there, like it will go away by itself. It takes time, or it takes work, or it takes whatever. And hiding from that, basically hiding from that fact, and not using the parts of yourself or the helpers and the resources you have outside of you to not take that stuff. Yeah. Like sometimes stuff is hard to look at or hard to handle, but say walking in nature or talking to a friend or write a letter to yourself about it, whatever is better than drinking until you puke. Like taking a glass of wine or two while writing the letter, knock yourself out, like no problem. But it's the self-destructive way that those substances easily take you.
How difficult was it for you to have this shift?
Sometimes you have to be a bitch. Like there are some parts of making that shift you just have to go through. Like if you want to, in my part, it was wanting to screw around. And I did that when I was like 35. I just had to go through that. I never did that. And then I had a long relationship and that ended. And I was like, okay, now's my time. And it made no sense and it was stupid, but I had to go through that. And I can be all holy moly about it and say, there has to be like a different way. But for my place, no. So some stuff you just have to live through, and other things, a good spiritual practice helps. Honesty helps, of course. And on the other hand, mildness helps as well. Like when you fuck up, just own that you fuck up and try again.
I feel like you could go on and on. But for now, I just want to celebrate you and thank you for being open and sharing your story and your experiences that I think are very important to hear.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
And then to hear those in youth work where there are so many challenges with young people and especially young men dealing with addictions and trying to not to feel
easy,
what
man.
is there to feel.
Yeah, but also like the prevalence of or the accessibility of a lot of stuff. Like, I don't know, like, it's like, the addiction, I'm not sure whether I think it's rather universal. Like the challenges that men and women face are different, I think. But I think it's quite universal that a lot of the stuff in the outside world that keeps our strategies simple or young is stuff like social media, and I think social media plays a big part.
I would like to ask you to share one specific practice, your favorite or your most influential practice that you use to cultivate your resources that you need to and you feel like.
Wow, that's so difficult. Like it's so dependent on, at the moment, I would say, walking in nature and speaking my thoughts out loud. Really easy, but that.
Yeah, can you describe maybe a bit your thought pattern, or what are the things that are maybe preventing you from this, and what makes you go and do that, and what's your process, your very individual process in going in nature?
Well, starting with the lockdowns and stuff like that, like a lot of our life takes place inside. And inside world is a really weird place in a way. Like it's super engendered to certain patterns of behavior, like sitting in front of a screen or worrying Like I worry way less when I'm outside, for instance. So for me, the big step always is just saying no to a screen and just putting out the computer and just walk out that door. Like super easy, like that moment. That's the most important moment for me at the moment. Like just all that stuff that seems important. Yeah, fine. It's important. Mañana or later. And now go inside the rain.
Yeah. So it sounds like it is making decision and then just doing that.
Yeah. And also that's why I still think that Vipassana is super important for me. Like that's the most, like in my life, like since I'm 30, like the last 10 years or something, that's by far the most important practice, because I really believe that it opens up like those small windows that you can see like, this is going on and this is what is needed right now. And for me at the moment, it's being outside and being a weird wizard.
I can imagine you like weird wizard somewhere in forest.
Yeah.
It's really nice to see and experience you just being you, in no matter the age limits or something that society sometimes puts on that what you should be. That you're just doing the way you feel things. It takes courage, really, and also not just do it, but actually openly speaking about it. So thank you for that so much.
Yeah, I'm honored to have the opportunity. So thank you too.
And I have my final question. You said that you needed to say no to many things to open up new resources, and now you're learning to say yes to things. So what are you saying yes to this year?
To ugly places. Yeah, to like bramble bushes, like you know, like the plants with a lot of thrown beer cans in them. To that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So cheers to that.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for dedicating your time for this podcast and
Likewise.
for this talk.
Yeah.
Have a good beer can and bushes time.
Thank you very much for listening to this episode. If you want to dig deeper into the Art of Wholeness, make sure you follow us on Facebook or on our Instagram page. Details in the description section below. The podcast Stories of Wholeness is part of the Art of Wholeness, innovative tools and practices for inclusion of vulnerable young people. This project was possible through the Erasmus Plus program, a European Union initiative.